The First Amendment, a cornerstone of American freedom, a beacon of free speech. But what about those seeking entry? Do visa applicants share the same protections? The answer is a resounding no. And recent events highlight the critical need for a nuanced understanding of this distinction. While the First Amendment safeguards the rights of American citizens, it does not extend to those who haven't yet crossed our borders. This distinction is paramount, particularly in the wake of recent deportations based on expressive activities. The right to free speech, while cherished, is not absolute, even for citizens. It is even more limited for those seeking entry. Immigration is a privilege, not a right. Barbara Jordan, a pioneering figure in American politics, famously stated this during the 1995 immigration debates. Her words resonate today more than ever. The sheer volume of individuals aspiring to immigrate to the United States necessitates a system of selection. With millions vying for entry, we must prioritize those who align with our nation's core values. This includes respecting our laws and embracing the principles of liberty, equality, and tolerance. While some argue that ideological screening infringes upon free speech, it is, in fact, essential to safeguarding those very freedoms for all who reside within our borders. The United States has a duty to protect its citizens and its way of life. The case of Rümeysa Öztürk is a stark illustration of the complexities surrounding free speech and immigration. Öztürk, a Turkish graduate student at Tufts University, found herself facing deportation after co-authoring an op-ed deemed sympathetic to Hamas. This incident, along with others like it, has sent a chill down the spines of foreign nationals in the United States. It raises critical questions about the boundaries of acceptable speech and the extent to which the government can police the views of visa holders. The arrest and threatened deportation of Öztürk, based on her writing, underscores the fragility of free expression for non-citizens. While the First Amendment may not offer them the same shield as citizens, the chilling effect of such actions reverberates throughout immigrant communities. The fear of expressing dissenting opinions, even within the bounds of peaceful discourse, can stifle critical thought and debate. The government's justification for these deportations often hinges on the argument that certain expressions of support for foreign organizations constitute a threat to national security. While the need to protect the nation from genuine threats is paramount, it is crucial to distinguish between legitimate security concerns and the suppression of dissenting viewpoints. The broad interpretation of support and the use of vague legal frameworks raise concerns about due process and the potential for abuse. The chilling effect extends beyond those directly targeted. It creates an atmosphere of fear and self-censorship among immigrant communities, discouraging them from fully participating in public discourse. This silencing of diverse perspectives impoverishes our national conversation and undermines the very principles of free speech that the United States holds dear. The deportation of visa holders for expressing certain views has ignited fierce debate about the legal and ethical boundaries of ideological exclusion. Proponents of such measures argue that the United States has a sovereign right to determine who enters its borders and that this includes the right to exclude individuals whose views are deemed incompatible with American values. They point to the fact that the First Amendment, while guaranteeing free speech to those within the United States, does not extend those same protections to non-citizens seeking entry. Opponents counter that while the government may have the legal authority to deny entry based on ideology, doing so sets a dangerous precedent. They argue that such policies are discriminatory, often targeting individuals from specific religious or ethnic backgrounds. Furthermore, they contend that the subjective nature of determining which views are un-American opens the door to abuse and censorship. The legal basis for ideological exclusion rests on the Immigration and Nationality Act, which grants the government broad authority to deny visas to individuals deemed detrimental to the interests of the United States. This includes those who have engaged in terrorist activities, persecuted others on the basis of religion or political opinion, or are likely to become a public charge. However, the Act also includes provisions protecting religious freedom and prohibiting discrimination based on race, nationality, or place of birth. Navigating this complex legal landscape requires a delicate balance. While the government has a legitimate interest in protecting national security and preserving public order, it must do so in a manner consistent with the Constitution and American values. Striking this balance requires clear legal standards, robust due process protections, and a commitment to upholding the principles of free speech and equal protection. The current debate over ideological exclusion is not new. Throughout its history, the United States has grappled with the question of who should be allowed to immigrate to its shores. From the very beginning, immigration policy has been shaped by a complex interplay of economic, social, and political factors, often reflecting the prejudices and anxieties of the time. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, fears of radicalism and anarchism led to the exclusion of individuals based on their political beliefs. The Anarchist Exclusion Act of 1903, for instance, barred entry to anyone who advocated the overthrow of the government or the assassination of public officials. Similarly, the Immigration Act of 1917 expanded the grounds for exclusion to include those deemed mentally defective or likely to become a public charge. During the Cold War, fears of communist infiltration prompted the passage of the McCarran-Walter Act of 1952, which allowed for the deportation of immigrants suspected of communist sympathies, even if they had become naturalized citizens. This period saw widespread persecution of suspected communists, with many individuals blacklisted, fired from their jobs, and even imprisoned. These historical examples serve as a cautionary tale, highlighting the dangers of allowing fear and prejudice to dictate immigration policy. They remind us that the rights to free speech and due process must be protected for all, regardless of their nationality or political beliefs. As we navigate the current debate over ideological exclusion, it is essential to learn from the mistakes of the past and ensure that our policies reflect our nation's founding principles of liberty and justice for all. Section 5. Across the Pond: European Models of Ideological Screening. As the United States grapples with the complexities of ideological exclusion, it's worth examining how other nations are navigating this sensitive terrain. European countries in particular have implemented various forms of ideological screening in recent years, aiming to balance security concerns with the protection of human rights. The Netherlands, for instance, utilizes the Participation Declaration Trajectory, which assesses potential citizens' reactions to scenarios involving core Dutch values, such as LGBTQ+ rights and gender equality. This approach seeks to ensure that newcomers are willing to integrate into Dutch society and respect its fundamental principles. Germany, in response to a surge in anti-Semitic incidents following the 2023 Hamas attack on Israel, now requires immigrants to explicitly accept Israel's right to exist. This measure aims to combat anti-Semitism and promote tolerance within German society. However, critics argue that it infringes on freedom of expression and unfairly targets certain groups, particularly those of Muslim faith. These European examples demonstrate the diverse approaches to ideological screening and the challenges inherent in balancing security, integration, and human rights. While some argue that such measures are necessary to protect national values and prevent extremism, others contend that they are discriminatory and counterproductive, potentially alienating the very communities they seek to integrate. The United States, as it considers its own approach to ideological screening, can learn from these European models, both their successes and their shortcomings. It is essential to carefully weigh the potential benefits against the risks to civil liberties and to ensure that any measures implemented are fair, transparent, and consistent with American values. In an open society, protecting liberal values is paramount. These values include freedom of speech, equality, and the right to privacy. They form the bedrock of our democratic institutions and ensure that every individual can participate fully in civic life. However, these values can be threatened by both external and internal forces. We must remain vigilant and proactive in safeguarding them, recognizing that the strength of our society lies in its commitment to these principles. Intolerance often disproportionately impacts marginalized communities. This intolerance can manifest in various forms, from discriminatory policies to everyday prejudice. Understanding the root causes of intolerance is crucial for addressing it effectively. It often stems from fear, misinformation, and a lack of exposure to diverse perspectives. By fostering a culture of empathy and education, we can begin to dismantle these barriers and promote a more inclusive society. Recent events have underscored the need for constant vigilance. Whether it's a rise in hate crimes, the spread of misinformation, or threats to our democratic processes, we must stay alert. Vigilance means not only being aware of these threats, but also taking concrete actions to counter them. This includes supporting robust journalism, advocating for fair policies, and engaging in community efforts to build resilience against these challenges. Proactive vetting is a crucial pillar of national security. It involves thorough background checks and assessments to ensure that individuals who pose a threat are identified and managed appropriately. This process helps prevent potential harm and maintains the integrity of our institutions. While it is important to balance security with civil liberties, proactive vetting remains an essential tool in protecting our nation from both internal and external threats.